Should we do the manifest first and then?
Sure. So yes, there's a manifest totaling $801,110. 800 of it is for the school.
What do we want to do with the manifest?
I'll move it.
I'll astonishingly second it.
All those in favor?
Michael, I.
David and I.
Then,
So,
leave it. We'll be discussing moving forward on 116.
Yes.
so, may I?
Yep.
So, we went, Horace and I went and walked the property. We spent about 30 hours there on, was it last Thursday, I think, trying to identify what's on the property and where it's located. And what I've done is I've taken and made most of the material, the material is located in a sort of central area around the house and in front of the house, the old house structure. There's one place in the far, I don't know what it is, the far west area maybe of the property where there's some, the west end of the field where there's some
That's the
additional.
east.
East side.
East side,
Close
excuse me.
to Joe Steele's.
And point of fact, you were actually there a little over an hour and a half because you didn't arrive until maybe a little before 9:30 and you left about 11.
Okay, Martha, this is a public meeting, and so under the New Hampshire Open Records Law, people have a right to attend, but you do not have a right to participate.
Really?
So,
It
really, you
concerns my
don't have a right to
property?
talk, and if you wanna participate, you know, you could raise your hand and we could think about it, but really, we have to go through this stuff, this is not a public discussion. It's a public meeting and you have the right to attend, but under the Open Records Law, you do not have the right to interject. And if you insist on doing that, we're gonna have a problem. Anyways, so we've gone through and I've gone through and Horace, we went through and tried to list everything and mark everything down. And so really the question is for us to decide what we think ought to have to be removed in order to bring the property into compliance. The property owner, a lot of this stuff just seems pretty clear to me. There's just a huge number of vehicles that are located on the property. Many of them are sort of sunk into the mud to various stages. It seems to me that those things have to go. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of tires on the property. Those, I think, have to go. It seems to me that those aren't, you know, there's dozens and dozens of lawnmowers and broken string trimmers and things like that. Again, I would suggest that those things ought to be removed, at least in my view. The property owner has made the point that there's a couple of trailers on the property, like storage, you know, I don't know what you call them, cargo containers, and that those are, that there's nothing in New Hampshire law that prohibits that kind of thing on a property. Personally, I'm inclined to agree with that, and I would let those trailers sit there. I don't think they're very attractive, but it seems to me that people have the right to have those on their property if they want. There's also a lot of stuff stored in the structures, and I wouldn't mess with any of that stuff. You know, I don't think the structure is habitable, the house is habitable right now, but that's up to them if they want to have that. You use that structure as a warehouse, I think that's okay. The thing I'm not sure about is, it seems to me that you get to have a certain number of vehicles. I think the statutory limit is 4. I think I would be inclined to be more generous than that. I think I'd be inclined to give them, you know, 5 or 6 vehicles that they could store on the property. But I don't know which ones that should be, so maybe we let the property owners decide which, you know, if we pick a number and say you can have this many vehicles stored on the property, and you tell us which ones that you want them to be. But The only thing that troubles me a little bit about that is that you've got this logging truck, I don't think it runs, and it's completely filled up with stuff, and it's right on the edge of the road, right on the edge of the creek there. I worry a little bit that they would select that as one of the ones they want to keep, which would not be my preference, but I don't know, you guys we have to figure out what you want to do. And then you know, I don't know, you guys should look over the map that we've created and over this list and see if you think that there are other things on here that ought not to be removed. And we can talk about that too. I mean, you know, when you look at the photo, you can just see there's hundreds, maybe thousands of tires stacked up in various places on the property, along with all of the vehicles and stuff. I don't know, have you guys had a chance to look at the list at all? The other thing is, Mr. Smith, Jedediah was there for part of the time that we were there, and he was helpful in that he was able to give us a more precise identification of a lot of the vehicles, but he had to leave, and then it was just me and Justin and Horace trying to figure out, sometimes we were able to, sometimes the vehicles have license plates on them, and so when we could, we took down the license plate. Sometimes the vehicles don't have license plates on them, or the vehicle is so sunk into the ground that you can't see whether it has a license plate or not. So we just did our best to describe stuff. I am certain that there are errors in our list. I don't, there's just so much material there that really creating a detailed, accurate list would probably require days. And I don't, so, but we did the best we could in the time that we had. It was quite hot, and it's not a pleasant task. Anyways, that's what I got for a presentation. I'll let you guys comment or let me know what you think.
I'm just looking up the laws of how many vehicles you count with some minimum or the maximum number of vehicles before it constitutes an illegal, unlicensed junkyard. And I don't think, to be compliant with the county, the Superior Court, I think we need to be compliant with, and I don't think we could deviate from those recommended numbers in their finding from, I don't know how many years ago.
I don't know, I have not looked that up, and we could consult with town council if we want to about that. But I have a recollection of having heard over the years that we've been dealing with this that the number was 4. That said, like, I walk a lot in Lyme, and there are many places where people have more than 4 vehicles parked in front of their house. So, I don't know. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think the line between having a very messy front yard and having an unlicensed junkyard is not clear. I find this to be a very challenging exercise to figure out exactly what you gotta do. It's absolutely unambiguously clear to me that right now this property is on the wrong side of that line, but how much stuff you have to remove exactly to get it on, just on the right side of the line, I think is not an easy thing to do. I don't, at least I don't, it's not clear to me exactly what you have to do. Getting rid of the thousands of tires and lots of these vehicles and the stacks of lawnmowers and the stacks of riding lawnmowers and the stacks of string trimmers and the stacks of rotting construction material, that all seems to me to be pretty clear that seems like the right thing to do. But exactly how many vehicles you let them keep, I think that's tough, Michael. I'd be inclined to be generous with them, and I don't think that generosity is going to be very much appreciated one way or another.
I don't either.
The property owners are going to be mad at us no matter what we do,
But I do think that I think it's clear that the intermodal containers and storage units, which are existing on the property, are, if they're in there and they're weather tight, I don't think that they're precluded from being there. I don't think that you could add more to it, to the property, without proper permitting, since there'd be, to meet the definition of a structure in the town of Lyme. Any and all tires and stuff need to go because of the infectious disease, mosquito-borne illnesses and stuff, and that's a clear, written out and through RSAs for the health codes and stuff, when we get tires out. But mine is, when you talk about building materials, like windows and other stuff, or something that's potentially hazardous, yeah. But if someone's got pallets or stacks of wood and stuff like that,
What we did, Horace and I, is there's lots of piles of lumber and wood. If it was cut wood, like round logs and stuff, we disregarded it. If it was stacks of boards, like, you know, that had been turned into lumber as opposed to firewood looking stuff, we noted it and suggested it be removed. But I don't know if that's right or not, honestly.
for me, the stacks of lumber and the sale of distressed, I mean, most of the stuff that's maybe distressed is maybe just rot. But the reality is, there's not, I don't have a ground contamination or an air contamination or a water contamination from rotting wood. And for me, I'm not worried about rotting wood. Mine is gasoline engines with oil in it, and fuel. For me, those small engines and the large engines, New Hampshire DES declares those, considers those to be a ground hazard and ground contamination, even without testing, because of the hundreds they've done, they've all had ground contamination. For me, the vehicles, the things that are gonna cause groundwater contamination, in my opinion, and the tires, those need to go. You know, and if there's a number, if Martha can come up with an idea of where, or, you know, I'm not saying they need to
What do
be
you think,
running.
what do you think about consulting with council but tentatively going with letting them keep six vehicles on the property?
David, what I can say is, I haven't walked the place, and I'm not opposed to that. But for me, I also think that if there's a set declared reason why, I think the discussion needs to be had with Martha and Jed. I mean, if there's a compelling enough reason that someone needs to have 5 truck vehicles there, or if they have current something going on and they need 6, I mean.
Well, I don't know, but I can
What
tell
I'd
you
say
that
is-
Jed is very attached to everything that's on this property,
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
when you talk to him, he'll tell you he has a buyer or a use for every single item on here. So, but I know he's particularly attached to the square body Chevys, square body GM vehicles. So, but I don't know how many of those there are. I don't know, Ben, what do you think? How would?
I think the thing that has caused the most concern from the people who have complained about it is the front yard and the side yard. If that were cleaned up, it would make a heck of a difference in terms of people's perception of the property, including that big truck sitting there, right there.
I get that, and it's not that I'm not sympathetic to that, but my take is, people can want and not want some things, or like some things, or dislike some things. There's no legal precedence for somebody who doesn't like what it looks like. But mine is, the legal authority of the illegal junkyard, and then the storage, open storage of tires and stuff. There's New Hampshire laws that support the removal of that stuff.
Well, there's that, and I don't disagree with you on that. But as I say, if the place looked a little better, the pressure on both Jed and Martha would decrease.
Yeah, but I think if we're gonna take a legal step, we have to adhere to the laws on it. And I think, geez, there's a lot of tires there.
What worries me a little bit is that we have a court order saying that we have to clean up the property should be cleaned up. And if there's environmental contamination occurring and the town is looking the other way on that court order and not enforcing it, I'm concerned that the town then becomes vicariously liable for that contamination. And, you know, once you get an environmental protection agency involved in something like this, if EPA were to come in and say, hey, there's, you know, contaminants leaking into the groundwater here, the cost of a cleanup of that kind can just be
Crippling.
unbelievably huge, just
Yeah.
mind-boggling. And so,
Soil removal.
yeah,
And I
I
just-
don't wanna, I don't want the town to be on the hook for something like that. I think, so I don't know, I guess my view would be we ought to talk to Joe, our counsel, and see what the law is, but that we ought to proceed with cleanup, proceed with complying with the court order. That, just for the record, the members of this select board did not obtain. That was a previous select board that went to court and got that. But there's a court order out there that says this has to be cleaned up, and that if the property owners don't do it, the town would do it, should do it. Now, what I told the property owners when I was out there was, look, our intention is to identify what we think should be removed, and then to give you that list, and give you a certain amount of time to comply yourselves. You know, now, again, this is what, the 14th time that we've had that conversation or a similar conversation with the property owners, but talking with our contractor, his view, and Justin, you could correct me if I'm wrong, was that if we gave them till October 1st, is that the date we agreed on?
September 15th.
Now, let's back it off, September 15th if we gave them a list this week or next week and said, you have till September 15th to remove these items from the property, then, and on September 15th, we'll have our contractors come in and take in everything that you haven't removed. That would give Justin and his group and his company time to get in there and remove everything before snow is on the ground. Now, Justin says he can continue to work on a lot of this stuff even if there is snow on the ground, but I think that's gonna be harder and more hazardous, and I also think it may be beneficial to the property owners if we could do this in the fall before there's snow on the ground, because I think, you know, removal of a lot of this stuff is gonna require some heavy equipment, and I know they have an emotional attachment to the property. I don't wanna do any more damage to the property than we need to comply with the law. And I think maybe it's tougher on the property if you're doing this when there's snow and the ground is wet. Whereas if we did it in September and October, that tends to be kind of drier, and maybe it's a little easier to get stuff out of there without tearing up a lot of land. I don't know, just my thought.
Yeah, my take is, I think any of the small engines, any of the equipment and stuff with the small engines, with crankcase oils and gas, and all, but if you wanna say 5 of the vehicles, and then the assorted other equipments and other stuff. But, I mean, stacks of wood, I don't think it's an environmental issue. I think we're gonna do this under, like, violation of junkyard laws, and then the health stuff. I'd say tires, wheels, trucks, cars, small engines, weed wicker, wrappers, and everything else need to go. With the exception of, if we say 5, then I support 5.
I would go with 6, but.
I can go with 6. I'll support that. For why? I have no idea why.
Well, you know what?
Just other than I have
Why don't
6
we-
boats in my yard right now.
So let me
damn.
move that we do that we propose this list with 6, with the exception of 6 vehicles to be selected by the property owner, selected and designated by the property owner, and that we give the property owners until September 15th to clear off themselves if they can and they wish to. And if not, on September 15th, we'll have our team go in. But let me make that contingent on me having a brief discussion with Joe Driscoll, our counsel, just to confirm that he's comfortable with that from a legal perspective.
That's what I'm thinking. My other question is, if there are vehicles on the far east side, down by the stream, the Grand Brook.
There's it's hard to see because there's a lot of stuff growing over it now, and the aerial photos didn't really show that very well, but.
We can see that, but mine is.
There's at least one vehicle, and then there, what appears to be, I don't know if it's snow plows or agricultural, rusted metal, stuff like that,
I mean, if it was like lawns, but here's the other thing, for a caveat, if it's like lawns old farm equipment, antique and old farm equipment and stuff like that. I don't consider that junk. I think that's unbelievable treasure, and that should stay with the family. Like, I'm talking like the ground ribbon stuff.
Well, you know
But-
what, and that's another thing we can do, is we could say to the property owners, look, here's our list. If there are a limited number of items that you think ought to be excluded from this list, we welcome you to come back and make a presentation,
Right.
but we're not gonna be receptive to a presentation where you come back and say, hey, we wanna,
No.
we wanna keep these 30 vehicles, that's not happening.
And then, here's the other question is, do we have the ability to, and how much would it cost if we have vehicles that are sunk to the frame, that are of the 5 items, to have the contractor with an excavator or the machinery that he has, I mean, he can move stuff around, like we move.
I don't think we can have our contractor doing work for
Okay.
for the property owners.
Um,
And you
mine
know
is
what,
perfect
honestly, the
cleaning-
property
perfect
owners are
cleaning up the-
competent to do that.
Yeah.
Because when we cleaned up Goose Pond, there was some, I forget what it was, if it was I think it was a trailer that was completely buried. I thought, you're never gonna get this thing out of the road, and Jed and I came and got it out, so he knows how to do that if he
Okay,
wants
good.
to, and if he has the time and is motivated to do it.
Yeah, other than that, mine is, I see probably 90% of this stuff going away. So I would say that's, for a sense of the meeting, it's a
Okay.
cool spot, cool guy, cool land. But my thing is the vehicles, camper, tires, small engines, and all that sort of stuff. We have a court order. And mine is, at what point, I don't know when, and if we get in there, I don't know when our vicarious liability from not doing it transfers to a direct liability. So I think the time is now.
And a couple other just minor points. One thing is, that there's a lot of material on here, and like I said, Horace and I did our best to try to identify and name stuff and designate it. I'm sure our descriptions are imprecise and in some cases probably incorrect. It is possible that after we get in and do a first pass and clean off everything that we've identified, that we find some other things that, and I told the property owners that was a possibility. That's certainly not my desire. I'd like to, this is one of the more unpleasant and difficult things I've had to do on the select board. I'd like to be, and I know it's traumatizing to the property owners, and so I don't like that. I have no desire to tell people what to do or give them a hard time, but, so I'd like to, get in, do one pass and be done, but there is some possibility that when we do a pass, we uncover other stuff that we weren't aware of, or we discover that my list was in error and that there are some things that we failed to identify. So we might have to do a second pass, but that's just, I don't know how to avoid that. It's just a possibility, and I hope it doesn't come, I hope we don't have to, but,
Yeah.
so what I would propose, if you guys are okay with that, I don't know if we need a formal vote, but if you guys are okay with that, then we had a couple extra of these maps made, so what I would propose to do then is to provide this list to the property owners, and with one of the big color maps, and have Jordan or Dina actually go through and put the numbers on it like I did, and try to identify the locations of stuff as best we can. Give that to the property owner. I think we could probably do that either this week or next week. And then that way, that gives them as much notice as we can give them by the 15th. And then I'll compose a letter. After speaking to Joe, I'll compose a letter and just sort of summarize what we've said here, although Martha's here, so she's heard it also.
But do you think a letter's still required?
And we'll say, look, we're, 6 vehicles, you pick, and here's what we intend to do.
Additionally, though, a storage, these intermodal, these containers is one thing, but a camper is not in that same,
Yeah,
for
I
me.
agree with that.
And,
It's interesting, because I'm sympathetic to the idea that people have these on their property and it's okay, and I'm not gonna.
but not under our current zoning.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think if you try to, it's one thing to have 2 or 3, but it's another thing to have a dozen. you know, if you started adding those kind of structures to this property, I think you'd have problems under our zoning rules and.
Yeah, I think it's existing, but I do think that, yeah, oil tanks, appliances, the refrigerators, the refrigerant that's toxic and hazardous stuff, so, yeah, I do think that's where we go. I don't know if we need a motion or not, but that's the gist of where I think and how we need to do it.
Yeah,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Michael, I.
All right, I think that's it, guys.
Ooh,
Oh,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
There's a house trailer on the property, does that stay or would that go?
I'm paying taxes on it every year. I was told that it's a storage structure.
I would think we need clarification from the attorney on that.
Yeah, you know, my inclination is to be lenient with that kind of stuff and to let them keep it. There's lots of people who have house trailers on their property and, you know, it'd be okay with me, I think.
Yeah, I would say before, I would.
Martha, can you show me where that is?
Yeah, my only concern is by us saying, if we're saying that it's okay where it is that it could be in violation of planning and zoning rules. So I'd say, maybe we could say we don't have to remove it for the purposes of
Thank you.
hazards, but we're not, it's not a tacit.
So that's item number 25, I think.
Mobile home.
And you can see it here.
So if the house trailer, if the trailer, you decide to have it removed or whatever the case is, if it's removed, it does have to have asbestos testing done.
Yeah,
So what was the last part of that?
Asbestos testing done.
because otherwise, you can't
Thank
take
you.
it just to
Thank
like
you,
any
Sandra.
place.
Right.
You have to go like the one way up north, I think.
Okay. Well, so, maybe we excerpt item 25, subject to discussion with Joe Driscoll.
Yeah, because that is, I mean, asbestos,
You okay
for
with that,
us
Ted?
as a hazardous, when it's in place, in situ, it's fine. As soon as you start cracking it up, then we got a problem. And then it's also not just how do we pick it up and haul it away, but it's hauling it over the highway. You have to have like Haswapper, like, it's,
So, before we wrap up, do we want to open to public comment or see if anybody has any other input?
We can.
Briefly?
pretty-
Any public comment?
I would
Is that
ask,
with me?
Yes.
go ahead, Mrs. Smith.
Well, first of all, the log truck does runs beautifully. Second of all, I've been paying taxes on the mobile home for years now. I think if I've been paying taxes on it, it should stay. And I do use it for storage, a little bit, not a lot, but. Not sure what else I can address at this moment. I'll have to look at the list and so on.
Look, we'll get you the list, we'll get you the map, you guys can look it over. If there's a couple of things that you think, no, this isn't right, I would invite you to come back to us or to contact Dina. And at least my view is that I want to be accommodating and lenient if we can. I don't think Jed and Ty believes me, but I don't take any pleasure in this at all.
No.
I don't
Well, you
like
can be
doing
sure
it.
he doesn't either.
Yeah, but I'm not responsible for the
I know,
problem.
I know.
He is,
I
I
know.
think, and anyways, but, you know, but I also feel like if you guys come back and say, hey, none of this is okay, you know, or we wanna keep all of these vehicles, or we wanna keep 25 of them, that's gonna, I'm not, at least personally, I'm not very receptive to that sort of a response. I'll just throw that out there.
I was gonna ask if that map could be available online on the website or something like that.
I would, I mean, I don't know legally,
The property owners have requested that we try to keep this,
All right, Fair
out of
enough.
the public eye. And I,
Mhm.
and, you know, I understand, I mean, I don't know how we could do this without having some kind of a map like this. Like, and that's
No,
why
I
I have to
congratulate
do
you,
it.
I appreciate your efforts there to be clear on it. And I also understand your concern about not sharing this, and so, I will tell you, I'm gonna
People
write
wanna
up.
look at it, it's available in the town office, and we have to do that for public records
Of
law,
course,
but I would
right.
prefer that we not put it on the
All right.
internet.
Yeah,
because-
mine is, cause yeah, Rich, I don't
Thank
know
you.
the straight
And you've said-
legality of it, but my feeling is no.
Okay, good.
Cause
I
it just seems
concur.
kinda shit like a crap thing to do. I don't wanna do that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I mean, we did the map because I don't know how else to do this without having a graphic depiction of what's there and what, you know, to even be able to have this conversation is very hard otherwise. But
Well, you can-
it is a little bit of an invasion of the property owner's privacy, and
Mm-hmm.
I regret that. I just didn't know what else we could do to do this.
I would say more than a little bit.
Yep, we are gonna comply with the court order that the town's under right now, though, too, both of us. Good. Anything else there, Big Man?
I want to thank Nick for trudging out there with us and spending, I think it was the hottest day of the week. And,
I had one other question. You said that Horace was out there. Is that Horace and Ricky's?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Who's the
I just-
deputy health officer?
just to be perfectly transparent, I just didn't want to do this alone,
Mhm.
because it's a lot of work, and you're out there with the
Absolutely.
thing, and so
Oh,
Horace
oh,
was
yeah.
able to, and I wanted another person, and if I got one, I was originally gonna drag Michael out there, but then that
But then
means
you'd have
there's
a
a
public
quorum of the
meeting.
board, and we have to have a public meeting, and we would have to invite people to, I was like,
No, no,
So,
this is great. I just wanted to get the last name right. Thank you.
Yeah.
that's all I got, guys.
Do we have anything under non-public?
There is a non-public, but before that, you've already voted and signed the ambulance agreement, but they needed 2 copies of your signature, so I just have, I know, so I just needed your signature
Yeah,
on
so we
that.
can go right here, have you talked to the contractor, and after you're at Supernova, the innovation,
The novation, yeah.
is that, are we still,
That
is
was
this
it.
a doable thing? Good, okay.
Contractor's right here.
Yeah, I just wanted to know that. Good. Yeah.
Jordan, they were okay with those couple little typos that I.
Yep, yep.
And you guys have the stuff you need to produce a full-size copy of this with the number designations and everything. So we're gonna take off number 25.
Okay.
25's the trailer,
Yeah.
mobile
Mobile
home.
home.
Okay. That's all I got, besides
Martha,
your
we should have this
public.
for you in a couple of days, but if you wanna
Appreciate that.
stick around and look at it, I mean, you were there when we
I
did this.
saw it.
So I don't think there's anything terribly surprising on here for
Do you have a copy of your list right now?
Yeah.
I'd like to look at that.
Like I say, I'm sure we didn't get everything right. I tried my best,
Well, I
but,
know the vehicles you didn't, but
yeah,
it would be difficult without Jed there.
we did the best we could.
Okay,
and-
so for instance, I see toys, tables and furniture, a canoe, which we do use. Are those items, as with the Goose Pond Road, personal enjoyment, kids' toys, are those items that you're planning to exempt?
Everything that's on that list, we're planning to remove or ask you to remove. If there are things on there, if there are a limited number of things that you would like us to take off the list for good reasons, then let us know, and we'll try to accommodate that to the extent that the request is limited in scope and reasonable.
Okay.
Good. Chief, David,
You guys owe me a fruit basket.
there, here we go. Justin may need one too, so I'm gonna adjourn.
Oh, you have non-public.
Oh my gosh.
So if someone-
Sorry, guys.
So if someone will
Yeah.
move that.
I move
Do you want this back?
No, you make.
that we go to